Welcome your host, Caddy Frink, as she leads discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Good day, all of you lovely listeners out there in Radio Land. Welcome to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution here on AM 950, the progressive radio station. My name is Caddy Frink, and who do I have across the table from me?
Rachel.
And where are you from, Rachel?
I am from Minnesota Recovery Connection.
Are you really?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. So today, Rachel and I are going to have, I've been using the word robust. Conversation. I was in training last week, and one of the students in the class, Brittany, I kept saying, "Are we going to have a robust day?" to her, and she's like, "We are going to have a robust conversation." So it's kind of the word of the week. So we are here for Minnesota Recovery Connection. We are having a show talking about what?
Resources for people when they get out of treatment, and how you can support your loved one when they are also getting out of treatment.
Okay, so that's the topic of the day. But first and foremost, Rachel, what's right with you?
You know what? I had some car problems this morning, but despite that, I was still able to make it here with you. So that is what's right with me.
Nice, because I was freaking out when I got the text saying, "Caddy, I'm off the side of the road with my engine smoking." I'm like, okay, second solo show.
Luckily, I had someone come and save me, though. So
Dun, da-da. He actually had a white vehicle, so his white horse was a white vehicle.
That's funny. I was actually thinking that. So what is right with you, Caddy?
What is right with me? Let's see. It is towards the end of the work week. It is Saturday to those that are listening, but it is a week of grounding self in changes that are always happening in life, and just remembering that sometimes things are out of our control, but what can we control?
Right.
And it isn't always easy.
Got to use those coping skills.
I know, coping. So, so I am just honoring the fact that when change happens, I need to take stock. I need to make sure that I take care of myself. And not...
You know what? That's very fitting for right now. So I like that. Yep.
Yeah. Except for the fact that I do have my go-to right now. I'm needing more sugar than I normally need. I still have those phases in my mind of like, how am I going to cope?
Yep.
I'm not going to go to alcohol.
Right.
But what is my coping mechanism?
Right.
And sometimes it's things like sugar or carbohydrates.
I love carbs.
I know. Carbs are so good.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Okay. We just had a moment there, folks. We just had a moment, a carbs, sugar moment. But you know what? When we think about it, people who struggle with substance use disorder struggle with addiction.
Yep.
Sometimes we have behaviors that are what we can fill the void with versus going to those substances.
Yeah.
What's the way that you maybe cope with a hard situation? Just let's be transparent here.
You know what? I'm not going to lie. I grab my vape. I'm not going to lie to you. You know,
yeah.
It's about as transparent as I can get.
Yeah. And you are not alone.
You know what else helps me, though, is that sometimes I just need a few minutes to be by myself to process whatever the situation is. And that usually helps me. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes. Sometimes it's a couple of days.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to step away.
Yep.
You have to step away. It can be 3 minutes, 5 minutes. It can be 30 minutes. It can be a day.
Yep.
There was a situation that popped up a couple of days ago where somebody got some information and they were not happy with it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I saw the warning signs of, I've got to go. And I'm like, okay, I've got to chase. But what this person did is they went outside and they vaped.
Yeah.
Just needed to like take a moment.
Yep.
And then, I came up on my white horse, Mama Caddy is what Rachel calls me.
Yep.
And I just said, okay, wait a minute, let's talk about this, because sometimes it helps to intervene when there's a hot moment and be able to explain the why.
Yeah. The why is important.
Because sometimes we can make a statement and
Yep.
then all of a sudden somebody gets all hot to trot and
Yep.
they like take that as like the thing. And
Yep.
it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. We can talk about
Yeah,
this.
more information necessary.
Yes.
Pause.
Right.
Get your vape in your mouth and then let's talk.
Yes.
So we started out talking about people going to treatment, people coming out of treatment, and we were trying to think about what does that conversation look like when somebody is in coming out. So why don't you do a slight reflection on Rachel's story so people kind of know a little bit about you, because yours is a little different from some of the traditional ones in terms of the length of time that you invested in yourself. I'm going to
Yes.
phrase it that way.
Yes. So my situation, I think, is a little bit different just because, well, maybe not different. I'm sure a lot of people have gone through this, but I had a child protective service case when I went to treatment. So that meant that my son was living in a foster home. So when I went to treatment, I had to get into a family program. So eventually my son could come and live with me in treatment. So I was in my outpatient program for 10 months. Part of that was because I couldn't find housing, but I ended up being there for 10 months, got custody of my son back, and then eventually was able to transition into my own housing.
So when I hear 10 months, most people who might be listening to this might freak out because they're like, 10 months? What
Yeah.
do you mean?
Yeah.
But why did you have that length of time? I mean, what was kind of, or maybe what was that journey like? So you went in and...
Oh, well, Caddy, when I went in, I was telling myself in my head, you're only going to be here for 30 days.
Okay.
When you have a child involved, you have all of these steps that you have to complete. Parenting classes.
This is put on you by the state of Minnesota when a
Yes.
child is taken away from
Yep.
a parent, because you have to essentially prove to the state
Yep.
that you are a good, reliable human, correct?
Yes.
So there's a lot of steps.
There's a lot of steps. A mental health evaluation on top of a chemical dependency evaluation. So I had to go and start therapy. I had to do parenting classes. I had to complete my treatment program.
Okay.
And then I had to find safe and stable housing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all of that was really an individual without a child would maybe go to treatment for 30 days
Yep.
if they didn't have this other scenario going on.
Yeah.
Because you had that, you really were there because you really had to make a huge investment in Rachel
Yes.
on all these steps that you had to go through.
Yeah. So, and also, I was in my addiction for like 20 years, so I was addicted to meth.
Okay.
So with that comes, I didn't know how to control my emotions. I didn't know how to regulate my emotions.
you.
So there was a lot of coping skills that I had to learn. I had to really dive deep into who I was and the way that I thought and the way that I reacted to things.
Okay.
Because I had to prove to the courts, and ultimately myself, that I could be a better mom and a better person than what I was showing up for before. So, that included a lot of therapy.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you've said. And I think what's interesting about that is that when we were sort of discussing what we were going to talk about, and that is sometimes individuals will go into treatment and they'll have these opportunities for some mental health support, training, and or just counseling, just various things. And there might be kind of a brush off, blow off of it because you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things you told me was that in hindsight, it could have been helpful at the time, but then because you did have this long journey that you were doing sort of Rachel investigative and improvement and learning, that now, on the other side of it, you see there's a real big importance of the counseling and the things that they did.
Yeah.
And I think when I think about people who are going into treatment for like a 30-day, you're not going to get all that 10 months worth of love.
Oh, you're not.
Not at all. You're going to get kind of stable is what I'm thinking.
Yep.
So when we come back, I want to kind of dive into, as you said, some of the resources that are available. Let's talk about what it looks like to when somebody gets out of any kind of treatment, what are the expectations on everybody's side, not just the person who's been in there? Family, friends, relatives, environment, all those things. So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution here on AM 950, the Progressive Radio Station. My name is Caddy Frink and
Rachel.
Rachel. See ya on the other side. Thank you for listening.
We've all seen the man at the liquor store begging for your change. The hair on his face is dirty, dreadlocked.
Here we are, and we're back. Thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. My name is Caddy Frink, and who's across the table?
Rachel.
Rachel! So, Rachel, before we get into our topic, why don't you let people know you've had a journey in recovery. Why don't you tell people what your length of recovery has been, and then just a little bit about what you do at Minnesota Recovery Connection, because I think that's a great opportunity for people to see when you get out of recovery, there's things to do, but what are you doing currently, which kind of brings us all together?
So I am a recovery navigator at the Minnesota Recovery Connection. I have been in recovery.
Which is a what?
Which is a what?
What is a recovery navigator?
A recovery navigator is I support people that are in recovery. It doesn't matter if you are in active use or you are coming out of treatment, or if, let's say, you've been in recovery for 10 years. Sometimes you just need that extra support. I help find resources for people. I help people get assessments to go to treatment. I don't like to put it just... You can't define it in just one sentence because everybody's recovery looks different. So everybody is going to need something else, but I just like to say that I support people no matter what part of the journey that they're on.
Nice. And when we say you're a navigator, you're with a program called Recovery Corps,
Yes.
which is part of AMPACT, also known as AmeriCorps.
So many names.
Yes, the world we live in changes
Yes.
its identity in many ways. So it's one of the things that's really important to Minnesota Recovery Connection and other organizations of all kinds
Yes.
around. It's actually Minnesota, I think Illinois, Indiana. Particularly Recovery Corps has grown and been much more of the recovery community, which is super fantastic.
Yeah.
Because we can have, if I had hair, I'd be going, because
We're-
it all birthed at
Yeah.
Minnesota Recovery Connection back in the day.
We're able to provide support to individuals that don't have insurance, and we don't have to do any billing. So that's very helpful.
It's very helpful because there are people out there who are just kind of like in this medium space.
Yep.
And like, how do I get help?
Yep.
And it's a free service that's available that, we have individuals like yourself who are in their recovery learning new skills
Yeah.
or kind of amping up your skill set. Because AmeriCorps, Recovery Corps pays for Rachel to be at our Minnesota Recovery Connection office. We house her essentially. We give her the opportunity.
I'm being housed.
Yes, well, we office you. There we go. That's a
Yes.
much better term.
Yes.
We office you. You get paid through one, but you work for another.
Yep.
And these are programs that are really super important
Absolutely.
for so many people. There's other Reading Corps, Math Corps, all those kind of things. But for our recovery community, because Minnesota Recovery Connection built this partnership with, at that time, AmeriCorps,
Yeah.
we birthed this program. And they're one of the executive directors at another organization, Begin Anew, is Justin McNeil. He was one of the first participants that are first navigators that ever took place. And
Yep.
it's like, this is a thing that can really advance a career. So congratulations.
Well, I mean, and really bringing up Justin, coming into this program and you hear and you see success stories like that, that gets me excited because I think, wow, so 4 or 5 years ago, he was in the same position I'm in.
Literally.
And now, look at where he is now.
Yep.
So it gets me excited for the future.
Well, and I can honestly say over the last going on 3,
Yep.
I don't know what it is, the growth that I've been able to see in Rachel and her self-confidence and her putting herself forward. And she's like, oh, Caddy, do you need somebody to host a radio show with you? I'm like, sure, let's talk. And even comes up with ideas. And there was a year ago, you probably would have come kicking and screaming in. Actually,
Oh,
I think
my
you
God.
kind of were kicking and
Oh,
screaming.
my goodness. I had an anxiety attack for a week before I came here to do the show the first time.
But that's the interesting thing is that as you evolve
Yeah.
in your recovery, things get better, get clearer. So dialing it back to where we want to talk about. So when an individual wants to go into treatment, what is that when you're talking to somebody, what are they like when they're in that like beginning phase? What does that sound like? The person's voice and their concerns.
Usually before someone goes to treatment, and I know for myself as well that I had these list of demands that I wanted to be met before I went to treatment.
Give me an example.
Oh, I better be able to have my phone.
Sure.
I better be able to smoke
darn.
there. How long am I going to be there for? Because it's scary. Mm-hmm. It's scary thinking that, there's going to be somebody telling you what you can do, what you can't do. And for myself, I had just been living this life where I was doing whatever I wanted. So
however you wanted, with who you wanted, when you wanted, how you wanted. Yeah. Can you imagine? It's like literally taking a person out of everything that they know, putting them into this environment where they're like, I always say in class, they tell you what to do, when to do, where to do it, how to do it, and then do it again.
Yep.
How terrifying would that be?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
And you go into it, and I would say in the very beginning, it is really scary because you don't know anybody. Everybody's telling you what to do. Everybody's telling you what you're doing wrong. Oh. And, and you have to come and you have to start seeing what everybody else is. When I was in treatment, everybody kept telling me, the character defects that somebody has. Right. But then I started to think about it differently. Like the saying, if everybody's saying you have a tail, you might want to look in the mirror and see if you have a tail. Ooh. That phrase rang true to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. If several people are seeing a something and you are saying, I don't got that.
Right.
Maybe I call it looking in the mirror. It's like actually looking in the mirror rather than looking past it. Like, oh no, I know what I look like. I know I'm fine. And then actually turning the mirror on oneself is sometimes frightening.
But also, if you're going into an inpatient program, those are usually about 30 days.
Yeah.
So sometimes that self-reflection doesn't always happen in that short period of time.
So let's talk about that because the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, particularly with Rachel, just because you had this long journey, which really brought you to a very different place. Yeah. That when some people go into treatment and they've got 30 days because that's what their insurance will pay for. Yep. And so you really outlined it really well that, I want to have my phone. I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do this. And then they get there and like maybe 2 out of those things might be kind of true. Yeah, kind of available. Like you can use your phone, but only during these hours.
Yes.
And you can talk on, you can have a vape, but only at this time.
When we tell you, you can have your vape.
Right. Yeah. So when somebody is going to treatment, you're taking them out of the world that they totally understand, they can master, putting them into a new world.
Yep.
So anybody who loves somebody who's going into treatment, if somebody says after 5 days, which I've heard more times than I care to understand, after about 5 days, they want to bolt.
Oh, yeah.
Out of here, because I don't want to do what they're saying. And also, tell me if I'm wrong, they don't feel well either.
No, absolutely not.
What's going on in that first week or two?
Anxiety, the not being able to control your emotions, because if you think about it, you've been using substances to help you control, your feelings or get numb or whatever that looks like for somebody. So usually you might be overwhelmed with feelings because you haven't felt them in a very long time.
Well, and I'm also thinking there could be some withdrawal happening
absolutely,
off of whatever your chemical of use was.
Yeah.
So you're also going through a psychological, like, where the heck am I?
Yep.
And then you're going through a body that is saying to your mind, where the heck am I?
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Let's go back out and do, even though it's the worst possible thing you could do, you understand it. You know the rules, you know what happens, you know who to call, you've got all those controls again.
Yep.
And so I just want everybody to listen when you've got somebody who's gone into treatment and they don't want to be there, here's all the reasons why.
Right.
And then you think, well, they're going to get better after 30 days.
Yep.
It's all going to be fine. Where's the truth in that, Rachel?
It's not the truth. It's not the truth. And really, I think I was telling you this yesterday when we were talking. One of the hardest things for me was going to treatment and doing all the work on myself, even if somebody's there for 30 days and they start to work on themselves. And they get out and everybody else is still the same. Whether, you don't have to have a substance use disorder to have issues. So somebody gets out and let's say one of their family members, that person hasn't gone to therapy. That person hasn't done any of the work. So you get out and you're faced with the same problems with that said person, and you have to learn how to cope and figure out how to have a new relationship with somebody.
And haven't done anything.
They haven't done nothing.
Yeah, and they haven't done nothing.
And nothing's wrong with them.
No, and I think that's such an important thing, because what you're doing is you're taking somebody who's gotten better.
Yeah.
Better, yes,
Yeah.
air quotes, thank you. Better, seeing themselves maybe through new glasses.
Yeah.
Hopeful.
Yep.
Wanting to sustain this, and then, as you said so well, you go back to the same environment where all those, I'm going to use the word which I don't like, but all those triggers are all there.
Yep.
It can be a person, it can be a neighborhood, it
Yep.
can be it can be whatever an environment is. You've got to go back to work.
Yep.
Holy banana
What?
cakes.
Ew.
Ew, yeah, ew. Because you have the same boss, you have the same coworkers, you have the same situation, and then they're all looking at you thinking, "Oh, you're better now.
Yeah.
You're great."
Yeah, here's your list of responsibilities.
Yeah, let's just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And then that person says, "Oh, heck no.
Right.
I am not ready to cope with all these things."
Right.
So I think, to me, it's so important that we need to, the people on the outside with the person who has been struggling, because the way I was thinking about it, tell me if I'm right, Rachel, somebody who used, as you said, for 20 years.
Yep.
You are so lucky to have 10 months. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, you had 10 months. But how does a person who's even maybe used substances for 5 years go into 30 days worth of a lot of help, a lot of structure, a lot of ideas, and maybe, withdraw from stuff, begin to see themselves. But you don't erase 5 years or 20 years in even 10 months. But you did. You came out on the other side because you had extensive support.
Yep.
But think about that. After 30 days, you're not fixed.
No.
You are just in your, what did you call it?
Your baby deer phase.
Your baby deer phase.
Yeah.
Describe that. What do you mean by that?
So when you get out, I hadn't had a job in 20 years.
Wow.
So, I had, odd jobs, but nothing that I was investing, trying to make a career out of.
Yeah.
So you got to go and you got to get a job. You got to figure out how to turn your electricity on. You got to figure out how to pay your electricity bill. You basically have to relearn or learn for the first time how to be an adult. And that is scary.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if somebody might have a place to land because maybe they'll land at their parents' house,
Yep.
how healthy is that environment? Who knows?
It sounds good on the surface, but once again, let's circle back. You get out of treatment and you've done the work on yourself, but they haven't done any work. So maybe they still have feelings, that they're upset with about things that you did when you are using. So you're walking right back into that environment and you're walking right back into a relationship that could potentially be toxic.
And I think what might happen is that people might have expectations of you.
Yep.
We put you into treatment. You
Yep.
went into treatment. You should be fine now.
Yep.
And I say that because, I as had been said many times, I train a lot of people to be peer recovery specialists. And a lot of the class, as you well know, Rachel, you've been to it, 5 times, is really, I ask the class, well, what do you think about this? What is your experience with this? And I talk about treatment, and I'm like, how many people went to treatment? And about, usually half the class puts their hand up. And then I said, how many of you bailed out after a very short time? And about a quarter or half of people say, oh, yeah, I bailed out. I didn't
Yep.
want to be there.
Yep.
And so then you have a family member, a partner, a this or that, disappointed that you didn't make it through this treatment.
Yep.
So then the individual that's struggling with substance use in their own, they got another layer of guilt thrown on them.
Yep.
So what are the possible expectations of that person? They're going to go use again.
Exactly.
Because they already feel like poop.
Yep.
And now they're getting all that other shame and like, you didn't finish this, you're a loser, I
Yep.
don't trust you anymore because
Yep.
you said you were going to. So we got to think about how are we going to interact with somebody who is going to treatment, might not, and I mean, most people, I think I can say that, go to 2 or 3 or 4 treatments.
Yep.
Sometimes people can get lucky and
Yep.
a one-hit wonder.
Yep.
And whoo,
Yep.
good on you.
I was a one-hit wonder, but I was a 10-monther.
Exactly.
Yep.
But you had a lot of other things.
Yep.
And good or bad. I mean, this is where Child and Family Services comes in.
Yep.
It actually extended you an opportunity to get even better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep.
And it sounds crazy, but...
Yeah, well, you think in the beginning, Child Protective Services, it's so negative, there's like a negative, idea in your head, like, oh, they're going to be in my life. But in the end, Child Protective Services ended up being one of my biggest supports of helping me get, my poop in a group.
Yeah.
So...
and I... okay, she took the air out of the room on that one. That was good. And now I lost my concentration. So getting your poop in a group is really important. So we got to remember, folks, all those people who love people who are struggling with substance use disorder, treatment can be an option. But let's talk about what the other options are for folks when they want to get better, like utilizing the services at Minnesota Recovery Connection.
Yep. So also when you're in treatment, you have a counselor. You may have a CPRS while you're in treatment. You have, the facilitators of group. You have a layer of support. And when you get out, that layer of support is also gone. And I wish that I would have known that I could have gotten a recovery navigator or a CPRS when I got out of treatment.
CPRS is Certified Peer Recovery Specialist, folks.
Sorry.
I know we talk in acronyms all the time.
And having that peer, saying, hey, guess what? I went to treatment too, and I know what you're going through right now. And I know that you probably need some support. Because a lot of times people come out of treatment and they have no idea that there is resources and support out there to help you get through that next phase.
And I think that's one of the things I kind of had maybe a hope and a dream back in the day, that we would get ourselves involved in all of these treatment centers, and we would be that they've got all that stuff in the treatment centers, and then when they get out, we're like linked up with them, and then we carry that through. It doesn't necessarily happen that way because the world has changed around peer recovery services, and that's okay. It's got to evolve, it's got to change, and it has to make its way out. I want to take a step back. So let's say somebody calls and they don't want to go to treatment. What are some of the things that you advise an individual to support them with? What does that look like? Because treatment's not for everybody, and they might not have the resources.
Okay, so let's start with maybe we can go and check out some meetings. Not all recovery meetings are AA or NA based. I find sometimes those have a lot of rules or
perceptions.
Yep. And I find nowadays, a lot of people are looking into like the all recovery meetings where it's, come as you are. What are the 5 things?
4 things that we talk about. So an all recovery meeting is we talk about mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional health. Sort of on your own speed track there. Oh, that was a really bad way to say that. On your own terms. That's really what I meant to say. My apologies.
I guess, seeing if they're interested in going to meetings, I like to make goals when I work with the participants. I go through and figure out what their recovery capital is.
Which means?
All the areas. Maybe you can name them off for me because I can't right now.
It's the same one: spiritual, mental health, and physical. It's like what's your best area, and then maybe what's the area that you need to pay some attention to.
So sometimes it's finding a job. Housing is its own monster, so I'm still trying to figure that one out. But maybe they need to go to a training program to find a job. There are programs out there such as Twin Cities Rise. There is Summit Academy. There are places that can give you, there is also Recovery Corps.
Imagine that. A navigator, like sitting across the table from me.
Places that can help you get some training so you can go and you can find a job where you'll be able to financially support yourself.
So somebody might be stabilized but need more oomph. They need more opportunity around them to be supported. So you talked about meetings. There's Sobriety meetings. There's Dharma recovery. There's all kinds of community environments that are recovery oriented, like the recovery community organizations. Many of them have all kinds of opportunities for you to, like Minnesota Recovery Connection. We have the all recovery meeting. You can come in and you can volunteer. Sometimes people just need to have a different environment to go to. And I think we see that with the volunteers at Minnesota Recovery Connection. They begin to gain more self when they come in and they can just be. They don't have to
Right.
be anything to anyone, but answer our phones,
Yep.
be respectful, kind of get their boots back on the ground.
Yeah.
And then we can build on that if that's what they want to.
And when you're in treatment, you're in group for, 4 to 6 hours a day, and then you get out and it's like, how am I going to fill my time? I know that was a big thing for me when I got out. Like, okay, so now I've been in treatment for 10 months for 6 hours a day. Now I'm getting out. I have my own place. But now what am I going to do?
Now what am I going to do? Yeah.
So volunteering at different organizations is a great way to fill your time, especially at a RCO, recovery community organization, because then at least you're surrounded by other people that are in recovery, and I think that kind of helps boost your morale a little bit.
Well, you get to see people who are
Yeah.
successful in their recovery.
Yep.
And we have people that sometimes have lapses in their recovery,
Yep.
and that's acceptable as well,
Yep.
because this is a disease that we, on our best days, we've got our stuff together.
Yeah.
And there are sometimes when life hits you like a rock.
Yep.
And sometimes somebody will lose their recovery time and they have a reuse, but we're in an environment that says, okay, come
on back.
We still love you.
Come as you are.
Life's all the
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
So when we talk about treatment, we want to be real understanding that this is not a one-stop shop fix.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I want to kind of remark about when we were out in the parking lot when we were kind of figuring out what happened with Rachel's car. Her significant other was here, and he said, you're going to go and you're going to talk about it. And he goes, there was a car issue going on. And he's like, this is the kind of stuff that will make somebody go out and use again.
Yeah.
You got a car. Maybe you got, the beater that we all have in Minnesota
Yep.
at some point in time. And
Yep.
then, do you remember what he said? Okay, she doesn't. I do. He's like, this is why you need somebody to call. This is why you might have a problem with coping because
Yep.
what do I do? My car died. I've been in treatment for 3, 6, 9 months.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I seem like I have my stuff together. And now I can't get to where I'm supposed to go. I might just pack it in and say, I know where my dealer is though.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
Still in my phone.
Absolutely. I would have used that as an excuse to go and reuse.
Yeah.
For sure. I lost my car. Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, here we go again.
Here we go.
And see, that's when life hits people really hard
Yep.
with the unexpected things.
Yep.
So what we want to do is we want to be very mindful of that. If the individual that you care about, you love, all of a sudden has an event, it may not seem great to you or big to you, but it impacts how they're kind of journeying through. Don't blow it off. Say, okay, it sounds like this is really upsetting. How can I help you?
Yeah.
And Rachel's partner came up on his white horse truck and got her to me, which I was super grateful for, so I
Yeah.
didn't have to do a Southern show again. But these are the things that can really bounce people off of their recovery journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes things happen in life, and if you don't have those coping skills or you don't have that support from your support system, then you can start.
Tail spinning.
Yeah.
And we've seen it happen.
Yeah.
We've seen it happen with volunteers. We've had volunteers and interns that life just got too much and they went back to use, and we're like, we still love you, we still
Yep.
care about you, but when life's, it's tough.
Yeah, it is.
And particularly when it's the heavy stuff. If somebody passes away, somebody has an accident, somebody has, a pet pass away or die. When you lose a job or you lose a friend or you lose, something monumental to that person. It may not sound monumental to somebody on the outside,
Yep.
but we have to say, so tell me how you're feeling.
Right.
Tell me what can I do in this moment? Sometimes we can't fix it, and we really can't fix anything, but what you can do is
Listen.
because a lot of times people who are in their early recovery are acknowledging things that have been going on with them. And if you see somebody who's in a space, in a place, and you're kind of not recognizing you want to just tell me what's going on in your head?
I think that was probably one of the most valuable things that I learned about myself coming out of treatment and into recovery was that I sometimes just needed to process things, events, conversations, happenings with somebody else. Just having somebody listen and be like, hey, you know what? Maybe you're being a little crazy right now.
Yeah. Maybe you're kind of tuning up here a little bit in a way that it's recognizable from the past.
Yes. Yep.
And so I think thank you for saying that. That's so important. And that is when an individual who loves somebody who is going through this whole process, if you start noticing some of those old behaviors coming up, sort of not showing up or not answering phones or not doing whatever they said they wanted to do, it's like, hey, I'm seeing some behaviors that I don't want to blame you, but I want to say I see it. So where are we?
Right.
What's going on?
Right.
Because I want to care about you. I can't care for you. I may not be able to fix it, but I at least can listen and get that hamster wheel out of your head.
Right.
Oh, Lord, when that thing just gets rolling, it started rolling with me this morning on something. I'm like, okay, turn on the TV, Caddy, because slow down the bus.
Right.
So we're going to take our last break. So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution here on AM 950, the progressive radio station. My name is Caddy Frink, and as she takes a sip of soda,
Rachel.
And we'll see you back here.
This guitar needs 6 strings.
I know, I love the music too. Love this music. It just kind of just like makes you sway in your seat and just I don't know anything more in that song but that part. And it just makes me just want to sing along with it. Well, thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution here on AM 950. My name is Caddy Frink and
Rachel.
Where are you from?
Minnesota Recovery Connection.
And what do you do at Minnesota Recovery?
I am a recovery navigator.
With
Recovery Corps.
Which is part of?
AMPACT.
Which is part of?
AmeriCorps.
The reason why I want you to say that is that people listening, we all need resources.
Absolutely.
And I want to tell a quick story, and then I really want Rachel to take a dive into resources that she knows for people in every walk of life. I was with a very good friend this week, and there are situations, and it was like this moment with me. A good friend who lost her son a couple, 2-3 years ago to an overdose, but this overdose was not known because individuals that were around him, it was with GHB, which is the date rape drug.
Yep.
And individuals brought this product to the space that they were at, and this young person drank it because they thought it was water or it was clear. And if anybody knows what GHB is, a date rape drug, it will make you unconscious.
I do know people do use that recreationally, though.
And This is what happens because you're supposed to have a very small amount, teeny tiny. He swigged it like it was water. And unfortunately, went to probably go lay down or something and didn't come back. I tell the story in honor of this young person who is gone. I'll leave all the names out of it because when I talked to Mom, the woman, she was talking about her going to grief groups where other young children or young adults, I mean, he was 24, I believe, died because of overdose or died because of an accident. But when she started naming off that she goes to these grief groups where these parents have lost children, the greater majority have generally been from an overdose from substances. And I just want everyone to hear me say the substances that are on the streets right now are so unrecognizable, so incredibly dangerous that if you have a young person that is experimenting, you can't shame them into stopping, but what you can do is you can have them call organizations and say, what do I need to know if I'm going to be recreational? Kids are kids. They do stuff. We know that. Don't shame them. Give them information. And if you want to know more information, call Minnesota Recovery Connection. Call Steve Rumler Hope Network. It's a place where Steve Rumler was somebody who died from substance use, but they started this whole movement with Narcan naloxone to help through the opioid epidemic. I just want to say that out loud because when I saw my dear friend who lost this incredible young person, I just thought there are so many young people and mature people and everybody in between dying because of what's going on the streets right now. And if you saw Rachel's eyes right now, we just hurt because it's when I'm in my class and I say how many people have lost somebody. Used to be maybe 3 or 4 hands like 4 or 5 years ago. Now I would say, folks, 90% of my class, if not 95, raise their hand that they've lost somebody to opiate overdose. Substance use overdose, opiates, all the above.
I have lost count of how many people that I have lost over the last 5 years. I couldn't even give you a number. It's too many.
It's devastating. So as a public service announcement, those who are struggling, remember what they're struggling with is a disease, but the chemicals that are out there, and I know for those of you who don't have any idea what I'm talking about, get yourself educated on metadotidine, fentanyl, xylazine. There's Carry Narcan, but that's like a first line of defense. But if you know somebody who's struggling, ask them how you can help them. Don't judge them. Okay, service announcement, because it really affected me seeing my friend.
No, my daughter is 17, and like last year when she was at my house, I gave her some Narcan, and she was like, I don't need this. And I was like, I don't care if you think you don't need it. Take it. Carry it in your purse, because you never know if you're somewhere, somebody you may like. You never know nowadays.
You don't know what you don't know, so be prepared.
Yep.
Be informed. Okay. Twisting that one around from the worst case scenario, what are resources that you just generally give out to your participants? What are some of the great things that you've learned that you can give to people who are on this journey for recovery? She's looking at me like wide-eyed and like, now what am I going to say?
So I was telling you this yesterday. When I was in treatment, everybody was like, you need therapy. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll go. But then I got out and I was like, I'm not doing it anymore. I don't need this.
I already had it.
And when everybody's telling you have to do something, sometimes, it's...
Listen.
Well, no. Everybody's telling you to do something. It feels forced, right?
Thank you.
So
okay.
When I got out, I stopped going to therapy.
Okay.
But about a year ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back just for myself. And going back for myself has been so valuable. So I would encourage anybody who has had trauma or whatever that, you know what? I take that back. Everybody needs to go to therapy. Everyone needs to go to therapy.
Well, I think that's kind of not a bad idea for everything that's going on with COVID.
Yeah.
And all of the ways that we had to change our world. Some people went into substance use during that time frame, so they could still be struggling. Some people who were in recovery went back to use. Current events, all the trauma, particularly in the state of Minnesota, that took place in the last few months, still potentially happening. You might not be comfortable with what's going on worldwide right now. Sometimes we just need to get it out so that it doesn't fester, because it's that festering that can bring on like really weird ideas on how to get it out of your head.
Let's see here. So we got therapy off the list. Getting your mental health, right? Okay. So now you need a job. How are you going to get a job? A lot of people have backgrounds that is a barrier to get a job. I know for myself, I have a criminal record. So it's like, where do I go from here? I do know that there is a job fair. I want to say April 14th or April 20th.
Check out our website.
No, at the Minneapolis Public Library, downtown Minneapolis, which is just a job fair for people that have a criminal background.
Justice impacted background, we like to say.
She's always getting me on the words.
It's my job. So what I want you to know is that people are going to be in so many different phases of their recovery journey, or even not even in recovery. Let's be real. People are going to listen to this and they've got somebody who is actively using sitting next to them.
Yep.
They have resources. We can help people who want to help people. We've got Thrive Family Services. They help people who have got people in their family struggling with substance use disorder. If you know somebody is struggling, you can call Rachel, you can call Josie, you can call Minnesota Recovery Connection and say, how do I help my person? And we're going to say, we can't help your person without your person knowing that they want help, but we're willing to walk into that space with you possibly. There's a bounty of help out there, but because it's such a stigmatized disease, We think nobody else has ever been through this. Nobody else knows what we're going through. Nobody else, I'm going to be judged. No. We want to keep people alive, folks.
It's funny. I was just thinking that this morning.
What?
So many times throughout this journey, and I've faced a barrier. And, for a couple of minutes, I'd think, oh, God, I'm never going to get through this. But then I stop and think, I'm not the only one that's ever had this problem. So there's probably a solution.
And there's so many organizations out there. So
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing that if you're stuck, go to I call it the Google.
Yeah.
Go to Google or go to your whatever your search engine is. I don't care what it is. And just put it in, I need help with blah, blah, blah.
Or call me, and I'll Google it for you.
Yeah, and you'll have an ally, because what
Yes.
we are is we're allies for people who are in any space or shape around people struggling with substance use disorder.
Yeah.
It is a disease. It is something that is complicated. It can be overcome. It also, we can help people who want to keep using their substances, but we want to keep them safe. We call that harm reduction. Huge caveats back and forth on that. But you know what? We want to keep people alive, right, Rachel?
Absolutely.
Because then they might just get more better.
Yes.
So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution here on AM 950. I was going to call you Sarah. You are not. You are Rachel.
I am Rachel.
Rachel, say goodbye to the peeps.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And feel free to come back and listen to our podcasts. They're all on AM 950, the Progressive Radio Station's website. Thank you. Love you. Bye.